Welcome to another Fridays with Father. I'm Father Kyle Rink, and I'm joined today by Marilyn Gaffrey, an Our Lady of Lourdes parishioner who's on the PFAC, the Parish Family Advisory Council, also known as maybe a pastoral council on steroids, right? All three parishes combined. And just trying to continue to help each other to know one another as we get to know our leaders who are helping us through this process. So thanks so much for being with me today.
You're welcome.
We're out in front of out in front of Our Lady of Lourdes. Bonus points if we can point out where this mural is in the Lourdes campus. So it's kind of hidden a little bit, but it's also right in plain sight. Now we want to talk about today about pilgrimage again, but maybe a little bit different than the last time. Because Marilyn, it sounds like so you were also not originally Catholic, but you're married to your husband Frank, right? And so tell me about just something about coming into the church and kind of your experience there.
Well, I was born and raised Protestant, and when I first met my husband and we started dating, it was very obvious to me that he was a faithful practicing Catholic, and if I wanted to see him on the weekend, I was going to go to Mass with him. And that continued, and actually was able to be married in the church, but it took another 20 years before I actually made the commitment to become Catholic.
Wow.
And it came to a point where I needed to do that. I felt a need to participate in the sacraments. I just felt it was a need and it was time. And he was my sponsor. And so in 2007, I was confirmed and became Catholic.
Wow, that's so cool. And it sounds like as you became, kind of came into the church fully, it sounded like there's obviously a lot of differences between the faith you came from and the Catholic faith, but you're talking about some of the tangible things. So we have holy water and we have, relics and all kinds of stuff. And you said, especially on pilgrimage, you had kind of an experience of that, and especially the Holy Land. And I can relate because I went to the Holy Land too. It was a life-changing opportunity to walk in the footsteps of Jesus. I'd love to hear a little bit about how those elements of the church and your experience on the pilgrimage kind of brought your own faith to life.
Oh, absolutely. We were fortunate enough to go on several pilgrimages, but I believe the Holy Land was the one that just brought me basically to my knees about, the Bible and relating stories to the Bible and thinking you're actually walking in the steps of our Lord. And going to Bethlehem, going to Nazareth. Every time I think of something now in the gospel, I say, we were there with the Transfiguration. There were loaves and fishes, the Beatitudes. It just made the Bible come alive, and it really made my faith come alive in those aspects.
Wow. That's very, very cool. And I was thinking about this. There's something so cool about the fact that we get to go back to those spots. And people have been going to those spots for 2,000 years. And sometimes people will say, well, how do you know that this event happened here or there? And they say, well, because people have always pilgrimaged and come back to this location. And there's something about that true for us spiritually that, sometimes it's really good for us to go back to those places, whether it's a physical location or even just a time in our lives, a memory we had, going back to that, to remember what God has done for us and to live in the beauty of that. And like you said, in your case, going back to the location to the Holy Land, it sounds like that really, every Sunday has been different since, right?
Every Sunday's been different since. And I think one of the most meaningful parts of that trip for me too is when we had a boat trip planned on the Sea of Galilee. And I didn't really think that would affect me that much. Because once we got out there, we really were just taking time for solitude and, enjoying. But that just hit me because that was not near a place or might be a place. That sea, Jesus and the disciples and the fishermen were on that water, that same water that we were on. And he saw the same landmarks. He saw the same silhouettes. He saw the same sunrise and sunset. It was very meaningful.
Wow. And to see through the eyes of Jesus in a way. That's very special.
Truly.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that experience with us. If you ever see Marilyn in the future, please feel free to say hi and introduce yourself and ask her more about the mishaps of the pilgrimage. Perhaps you can share that in person. So, well, this has been your Fridays with Father for today. I hope you have a blessed week and hope to see you soon.